Hi everyone, it's David here, and we're recording today about self-hypnosis, the benefits and the way in which it can be used and how it can help. So we're online with two eager participants to talk about self-hypnosis and how it works and what it can do and how it can be used to get some significant changes in life. So welcome. I'm just going to share the screen, and of course you are welcome, Jenny or Naomi, to ask any questions whatsoever. I have no problems with that. So can you both see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically it's just a short PowerPoint, but I'm just going to go through it because I've put together some ideas about what self-hypnosis is, how it can help, and the way in which it can be used and can be used safely. So the first thing is, that's me. We're not going to go into that too much. People can read about me if they want to. And this is basically how self-hypnosis can help. It can teach you to relax your body. That's number one thing. And it can teach you to relax the mind. So what I find working in practice is that most people, one, don't know how to relax their body, or if they do, two, they don't know how to relax their mind. Because if they knew how to do both of those things, they probably wouldn't need my services. But it also teaches practitioners how to use their imagination to get what you want. So, and that's a really important thing, because if you've got something that you want, having a technique and a tool that can help you get there is, I believe, really important. And then the form of self-hypnosis that I teach teaches you how to put it all together, how to relax your body, how to relax your mind, and how to get what you want. And it's all done through a process where we go through that over a number of weeks. So that's the reason that I'm presenting this on self-hypnosis. Then the question comes, if you want to change anything, what would you want to change? Would you want to change something with your body? And by when? Would you want to change something with your brain? And by when? Would you want to change something emotionally, basically to do with the heart? And by when? Or would you want to change something spiritually to do with your own path in life? Because those are the main reasons that I know of to do any form of hypnosis or meditation or anything else, basically, is to bring about some change in life that is going to benefit you. So any questions so far?
No, sounds great.
Okay with that? All right. So now, where does all this stuff come from? Where have we got doubts, lack of self-worth, our fears, anxiety, depression, everything else? Well, partly it comes out of our personality. So if I was a choleric, for instance, I would want to have control in all situations. These are different personalities. I'd want to be the boss. I'd want to have control. There's just a tad of that in me. But if I was melancholic, I'd want to have order and routine. I'd be a bit of a perfectionist and a bit prone to depression, a little bit melancholic. And there's a tad of that in me too. And then if I wanted to have fun, I'd be known as a sanguine, and my whole experience of life would be to have fun. Anybody got in my way, I'd want to remove, because that's the nature of the sanguine personality. And I've got a bit of that too. And then there's the phlegmatic, and the phlegmatic is the one who just wants respect and they want acceptance. And I've got some of that too. So you don't have to be everything, but you will be something in that list. And anytime you don't get what you want, what happens is that if you don't get to be the boss, or you don't get order and routine, or you don't get results, or you don't, or you know, to have fun, or you don't get respect, then chances are internally there's going to be turmoil. And I see the purpose of self-hypnosis to sort out that turmoil, is to bring that back to balance, so that life can be a much happier state, basically. So what can self-hypnosis do? Well, it can relax your body to a very deep relaxed state where you're in control. It can calm your mind so you relax without any intrusive thoughts, where you're attaining a balanced state, and therefore it's much more peaceful inside. It can create positive change. It can help people to have more fun because they're not dealing with the other issues that they might be affected by. And it can bring acceptance, and thus that brings inner peace, and inner peace brings self-respect, which calms the self and creates that feeling of self-respect that is so important to have within. So I'm not pointing the finger outside at other people. I'm just noticing where I am, and I'm fully in my own power. So the current state, the biggest problems that most people have if they're choleric is the fear that they're not going to have control. For the melancholic, it can be false pride. And these things, fear, false pride, self-will, these are the things which affect us and cause anxiety and depression. At the bottom line, the baseline of everything, if I hold on to fear, if I hold on to false pride, if I hold on to self-will and try to override things and go against what is happening, then that can cause, again, that inner turmoil within, which means I won't have control. Things won't be perfect. I won't have the fun that I want to have. And if there's unknown things that I don't know how to deal with, I won't have the respect for myself that I would really like to have. Any questions on any of that?
No, all good. Sounds great.
All good? Okay. So how does this all work? Well, it works that when we're in a waking state, an active state where we're thinking about things and going through things and trying to work things all out in our head, our beta brain waves are going off at 13 to 38 hertz. So what's happening is we've got this constant energy streaming in our brain. And this is where a lot of people they can't switch their brain off. The brain is going ding, 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 ding all day. And they just can't switch it off. They can't get to sleep properly. They don't have control of their environment to their environment within themselves. And it's really important to bring about that control. And one of the ways to do that is to be able to get the brain to go into what we call an alpha brainwave. And an alpha brainwave is a very relaxed, calm, pre-sleep, pre-waking up brainwave. And that's running at about 8 to 12. And there's a theta state, which is even lower, below 8, 4 to 7. And that state can also be induced in self-hypnosis. So those are very relaxed brainwave states. And because they're so relaxed brainwave states, what's actually happening is there's no inner turmoil within the person. Now, negative thinking, where does it come from? Because what we're dealing with in most cases is if I've got negative thinking about myself, it had to come from somewhere. So usually it can be traced back to childhood. It can go from childhood, it can go into the teenage years, because what we don't deal with or we don't know how to deal with in childhood is then reflected in our teenage years and our relationships with the opposite sex usually, or our parents, which is why we crave independence from our parents at an early age, or our work life, and it flows onto our work life. So we've got this whole situation where childhood, teenage years, relationships, and our work life are all affected by how we feel and think about ourselves, and that can cause inner conflict and inner agitation as well. So if I've been traumatized in my childhood, if I've had experiences in my teenage years, got dumped, something else has happened, if my relationships haven't worked out, and if my work, I've been bullied or something else has happened at work where I don't feel like I'm really serving the purpose, all of this just keeps going around and around. And what happens with that is that it's all going to reflect in the way I feel within. And I either have to do something about that, and that causes anxiety for me or depression for me, or I become so upset by it that I shut myself down and I withdraw and back away. And these are the reasons why a lot of people don't know that how their feelings work. They don't know what they're about. They don't know how to understand themselves because they've got this whole lot of turmoil going on, and it's been going on since childhood, sometimes even in the womb, but sometimes just in the first year of life. So I say to people, you know, if you don't feel good about yourself, chances are something happened in that first year of life that has created this process within that stopped you from actually feeling that you're good enough. And the difficulty with that is that is an embedded command within the subconscious that the person isn't good enough. And that has to be worked through at some level in order to release it and let it go. And self-hypnosis can help them do that. So we have 3 egos. People talk about the ego. The ideal place to stay is in the observational ego. And the observational ego can look at life and say, that's interesting. I wonder what that's about. Whereas the big ego doesn't have that capacity. The big ego is always trying to say, I'm bigger, I'm better, I'm better than anybody else, or I'm better than them, or I've got more information, or I know more, or they should listen to me, or whatever it might be. And then the little ego is that part of us, if we do have that turmoil, that says, I'm not good enough. That says, everybody else knows more than I do. Everybody else is better than me. That if you look at what's happening with social media, so many people, the trolls, get into their big ego so they can tell anybody anything. And the people who are being attacked, they're in their little ego and they're feeling threatened and that they're not good enough. And the goal of self-hypnosis is to bring people into their observational ego, where an understanding, a deep understanding, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual is involved. And because that's involved, the ability then is there to be able to look at life and say, that's interesting. What can I do about that? What can I do and how can I do it? Rather than, why do I feel this way? Why don't people listen to me? All of this sort of stuff where people go back and forth between little ego and big ego, and eventually just get so much turmoil inside. Any questions so far?
I was thinking, David, with what you were saying on that previous slide, like you used some analogies or examples of like trauma and stuff. And I suspect the way you described it, it probably doesn't have to necessarily be huge, but we've all had life experiences through those different areas. And for whatever reason, it's probably left a seed there, hasn't it? So even if it's not something significant, there's still been an experience that could have created that feeling.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to, it can just be an unkind word from a parent who's, you know, had some bad news and just lashes out. And the child then feels like they're worthless, they're a nuisance. I've had so many people who come through the clinic who just feel like they've been a nuisance for most of their life. The children with ADHD and those sort of things, they are treated as a nuisance because they interfere with the parent's life so much, even though I don't believe that it's in their control. But the parents don't know that. Why don't you just behave? Why don't you just take, you know, blah, blah, blah. So people who are stuck in those environments and in those places begin to doubt themselves, begin to fear that there's something inherently wrong with them. And it doesn't have to be big, but often what it is repeated. It's a repeating of no, you can't have that. No, you don't do that. No, that, no, this, no, that, no, that. They get very little yeses in their life.
Yeah, so I've got a sister who rejection was a big theme for her. And when she explored it further, I mean, my mother had 3 children in just over 3 years, and she was the middle one. So it was almost like in her eyes, she was rejected, but it was in another sense, if you were looking at it from that observer in the middle, it was probably, hang on a minute, this is a woman, and in those days you wouldn't have had hands-on support from a father, but you've got 3 children in 3.5 years.
Yeah. The problem is that when people get into little ego and they're not feeling good enough, they only have the intelligence that they have at that age.
Okay.
So the reasoning power that somebody has who thinks they're not good enough is only skilled to the level that the age they are. So what happens is the person is frozen, or some part of them is frozen in time at that age. So if something happens at the age of 5, they are forever frozen in time with their belief about themselves at the age of 5. As they upskill and as they learn to progress, they can do more and get more from their life. But if they don't go back and deal with the original issue, that original issue can still be locked in place. And underneath everything else, they feel like an imposter. They feel like, I'm not going to be good enough. I'm never going to be good enough. And then they look for examples in their life where that is played out. And those examples will always be there, because everything is about moving away from those issues and getting into our strength and power. Any other questions there, or are we good to move on?
I'm okay.
Okay, let's move on. So the next thing is to know, with the fundamentals of self-hypnosis, one of the first things to understand is the difference between self-hypnosis and meditation is usually that you use self-hypnosis to create a positive outcome. Just like doing hypnosis in a clinic, the goal is to get a positive outcome for something in life. So one of the things to understand is that it's best with self-hypnosis that you actually have a goal. With meditation, you don't have to have a goal. You might just want to relax the body. So to build the fundamentals of self-hypnosis is to know your goals. So one of the things that I work with when I teach self-hypnosis is to get people to set 3 goals for themselves about changes they would like to see for themselves in their life. And then I get them to be specific, to know the skills that it takes to achieve that and how to learn those skills, to make sure that it's what they actually want. Because it's one thing to dabble or run off into some pie in the sky thing without really checking internally, what do I really want? What is really important to me? Yeah, you can go and get an accountancy degree, for instance, but what if you wanted to really be an artist? The accountancy degree won't serve that. So if you're not doing what you love, there is also going to be an issue within that is created through the fear. And the reason why you go and get the accountancy degree, for instance, might be because your parents said, oh, you've got to have a career to fall back on. Yeah, you can be an artist, but you've got to have a career to fall back on, and people choose accountancy. And that happens time and time again, that people are conditioned by what their parents say, or their coach says, their school coach says, or somebody else says, and they believe implicitly in what has been told to them because they are reasoning as a child or a teenager at that time. So it's important to check in and understand, what do I really want? And then it's important to set the goal to maintain that practice. So you can be specific, you can learn the skills, you can want to make the changes, but if you don't maintain the practice for whatever reason, the results are not going to be there. So the thing is to learn the fundamentals, to set your goals, to decide on what you want. Doesn't matter what it is. I mean, self-hypnosis can be used for many, many different things. To organize yourself so that you've got time to practice, finding a quiet place that suits, where you can sit or lie down, because you can do it sitting or lying down. You can do it sitting in a tree if you want to, and practice until it becomes a natural thing to just drop down into what we call the levels of that alpha state, and even beyond that to the theta state. and it's all achievable. Now, most people, I don't know if have you seen this, Jenny? Do you know the drama triangle?
I think I've seen it before, haven't worked with it actively.
Okay, so on the drama triangle, you must have a victim. And usually it's the person who feels persecuted that is the victim. You will always have a rescuer, and it can be alcohol, drugs, sex, porn, can be anything really as the rescuer, but often it's the mum or the dad, and you've always got a persecutor, because you can't have a victim without a persecutor. Now, in relationships, when the relationship is on that drama triangle, the two people in the relationship practice and play each of these parts over and over again, which is why relationships break down. And I know that out of firsthand experience. So just excuse me, I just need some water. So the victim feels like a victim because they don't know any other way to feel. They look for a rescuer, someone to come along. And that's what causes a lot of infidelity, is that, say, somebody in the relationship isn't feeling heard. They talk to somebody else of the opposite sex or the same sex, and that rescuer then becomes their confidant, and then eventually, through being their confidant, becomes their intimate self, their intimate person. But if the person doesn't get off the victim triangle, off the drama triangle, they will keep going through, because the thing is, the rescuer can never rescue that person. That person, if they've cast themselves as a victim, can only rescue themselves. And to do that, they have to move from victim, and they have to move to creator of their life. And part of the value of self-hypnosis is to help people become the creator of their life, to help them know that they are the creator of their life. They are creating their life with every word they say, every step they take, every book they read, every movie they watch. They are creating their life. And rather than having a persecutor in their life, the creator sees things as challenges. What is the challenge here for me to overcome? Because the thought then with them is not what's wrong with my life. The thought then is, what challenges have I got? And they can either coach themselves if they're good enough to do that, or they can hire a coach to help them continue to be the creator rather than slipping back to being the victim. And most people will go up and down. They'll come across this, they'll become the creator of their life, they'll be going along really well. And then what happens is that the challenges that they face haven't been dealt with within themselves, and they go back and they feel the energy of the persecutor within them, because something reminds them of the times they were persecuted. And then they can fall back and become the victim again. And then they need to look for another rescuer. Whereas the more that anybody can stay here as the creator, they face their challenges, hire or get inner coaching, which is what self-hypnosis is, that inner coaching can help them stay on the creator side of things and never go back down here to the drama triangle. Anytime anybody is complaining about life, about anything in their life, basically criticizing other people, they're stuck on the drama triangle. All the trolls in the world on social media, they're on the drama triangle. All the people who come out and say to somebody, oh, it's not so bad, dear, you're going to get over it, whatever it might be, they are stuck in rescuer mode, but they will also be on that drama triangle. And anybody who says, oh, poor me, woe is me, is in the victim place on the drama triangle. The goal is to get people to hear, and self-hypnosis is one avenue to help them do that. Any questions on that at all? No?
All good.
We move on. So, and this is the other stage, that if you want your physical body to be right, it is really important to also eat the right food, because self-hypnosis can do so much, but it can't do everything unless you have the physical prowess to back it up. So part of this is to look at the food intake that you have or somebody has, and to recognize that if the energy is going up and down through the day, falling asleep after lunch, feeling tired all the time, anxiety, depression, there can also be a physical component to it. And while self-hypnosis can help, anybody who's got this sort of pattern going on where they get up in the morning, they have their breakfast, they feel good, and then they drop down, morning tea, afternoon tea, after lunch, feel like a drink or, you know, another coffee to pick themselves up, or a piece of cake or something else, and then they go up, they get up again, and then they drop down after dinner and they sit on the couch and fall asleep, and they need a glass of wine just to, you know, stay present. All of that is happening because the blood sugar is in free fall. So when the blood sugar is in free fall, the oxygen and glucose to the brain is not going to be there, and therefore anxiety, depression, traumas, all can be revisited, nightmares, all sorts of different conditions can happen. Even aches and pains in the body can happen. So part of the goal is to help people to understand that they need breakfast, they need morning tea in order to keep this energy stable right through the day. And then a good lunch with lots of vegetables, and then a lighter dinner to enable the person to go to bed on a stomach which isn't going to be bloated and uncomfortable and disagreeable to them. So this is important from the point of view that if everything else is okay and we're doing the spiritual work and we're doing the energetic work, but still not eating the right food, there is going to be problems in finding space to do the self-hypnosis, of not falling asleep during self-hypnosis. So it's really important to have that right food in the body. And the reason is that these are the symptoms of a poor diet. Muscle pain, joint pain. And when I say poor diet, I don't mean it's basically a poor diet. I mean, it's a poor diet for the person that we are talking about. So nervousness, irritability, exhaustion, weakness, faintness, dizziness, anyway, you can read that, but depression, migraine, headaches, all of these things come from a diet which doesn't work for the individual, including sugar addiction, drug addiction, alcoholism. Most people in AA have problems with addictions generally. So, and a lot of those addictions are formed through not being able to have control within themselves. So lack of sex drive can also be a thing there, lack of libido, lack of concentration, mental confusion, limited attention span, learning disabilities can all be as an aspect of a diet which doesn't work for the individual. So that's something else which needs to be looked at, so that the person doing self-hypnosis can actually get this part of their life in control as well. And that's the reason I put this in, because the physical is so important. Getting the neurotransmitters to the brain is so important to help a person live their life effectively. So, coming to the end, as they say. So what now? When you leave this free session, are you okay to continue by yourself? Do you want to just do self-hypnosis yourself? You can get a book and read about it and follow that through, or would you like some guidance along the way? I can help, it's what I do. I can be your coach. And there is an MBA self-hypnosis workshop, and it starts next week. So it's 4 sessions of 90 minutes, so that's 6 hours with me, daytime or evening. Starting next week, group price is $197 per person for the whole of the 4 sessions. And in week 1, you learn to relax your body. And that's really important, because most people do not understand how much tension they have in their body. Most people don't understand that pressure they have in their neck, in their head, the tight band around their head, the pressure in their chest, just how much that is there only because they haven't learned how to connect with their body and learned how to relax their body. So, and then you practice for that week just on relaxing the body. So we're doing this in a progressive way so that you can get the major benefit out of what you learn. Session 2, you learn how to relax your mind. So relaxing the mind is different from relaxing the body. The body is, the physical body, this is it, right? The mind I don't see as the brain. The mind is everything, right? The mind is all the thoughts that come in. It's all the external stuff which is bombarding us over and over again. So you learn to chill out all of that stuff. You learn to let that go. It's no longer important to you in this state of self-hypnosis. And in session 3, lesson 3, you learn how to use your imagination to help you get what you want. So it's about finding that target. In week 1, one of the things we do in week 1 is get you to actually imagine 3 things you would like to achieve by doing this workshop. And you just write it down, you write that down, you keep your notebook, you write that down, and you keep that in mind, because when you get to week 3, we're going to start to put that into action. And to learn how you can use your imagination to help you to get those 3 things that you say you want. And then in session 4, you learn how to put it all together. So you learn how to put together a script that is suitable for you as an individual. So you can use that script. I give you the script. All you do is amend those pieces within it that don't apply to you and put in those pieces that do apply to you. So that's the whole process. And the goal is to get you in such a relaxed state that you can do all of this easily by yourself in between the times of the lessons. So that's where you are. And to enroll, yes, you can go to this link and choose the day and time for you. So far, we have people on the Tuesday during the day. So, and that's the link there. Let me just get rid of that a little bit. So is that link there? I can put that in the chat if you like. And we have sessions on Tuesdays from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. And when we get enough, we'll do Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. But most people at the moment, probably because of lockdowns and everything else, are going for the 1 to 2:30. Are there any questions? Because I'm happy to go back through anything.
I really like the layout that you've presented there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I found that really, really interesting and good way to explain it. I don't have any questions.
Okay. The other thing is that when you do the course, you get these slides. You get these slides that you can sit there and look at them all you like. So the basis of self-hypnosis is to get you to freedom. That's really what I see it as. Because to the degree that I'm not free, the degree I'm not free of something affecting me, like it's just there, it's just always there. I never feel good enough, or I never feel like I've got a right to speak out. And we can just go through that a little bit. Thyroid, for instance, right? And if you look at the work of Louise Hay, the thyroid is about, when is it my turn? The pancreas is about the sweetness of life. The liver is about stored issues that I haven't dealt with. The lungs are about grief. All of these different things are there as pointers to what we can do. Because the only reason why nobody's dealt with these issues before when they start to do self-hypnosis is they've never had the skill. And the goal of this course is to help people have the skills to develop that information for themselves, so that they can go within and say, oh, I've got this issue with my physical self. I need to find out what that's about. I'm just going to go and sit down and focus on that physical issue. And because I know these techniques, I've got these new skills and I know these techniques, I know I can do something about that myself. And that's the whole goal of doing self-hypnosis. So go on, Jen.
So it puts you into that observer sort of ego state to sort of be interested rather than be judgmental. So you're open to sort of seeing what else you can learn.
You're no longer beating up your body. You're no longer criticizing the body. You're no longer worrying about a bit of fat or anything else. You're not thinking about, you know, whether the thigh's too big or the foot's the wrong size or, you know, anything basically. I mean, I personally would like to see self-hypnosis put most plastic surgeons out of business. That would be an ideal thing for me, because the nature of plastic surgery in a lot of cases is fear of missing out, fear of I'm not good enough, fear that you know, I won't look good enough or I'm not good enough, whatever it might be, that has been dogging young women for ages, or men even for ages, because they haven't known how to see themselves differently than what they saw themselves when they were 4 or 5 years old in the main.
And if not put them out of business, at least have something like this as a process beforehand so they can make a decision that is truly, you know, reflective of who they are rather than who they think they are or are not.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't know if you've read Maxwell Maltz or not, but he wrote a book way back in the 80s, I think, called Psycho-Cybernetics.
Yeah.
And he was a plastic surgeon. And he would have people coming to him with what they thought were abnormalities, and he would remove them, and they would have such a sigh of relief. I don't have to look at that anymore, because they'd been obsessing about it. But he also had people coming to him to have transformational surgery done that he was able to help them to recognize was only happening because they'd taken on the issue from other people. And that's also the way in which partners control their partners a lot of times. So the whole issue with, say, what do you call it? DVOs, you know, domestic violence orders and everything else, is because it's been allowed to get to a point where the person who's putting the DVO on hasn't stood up for themselves. They didn't stand up at the beginning because they didn't have good enough self-esteem. So as things got progressively worse in the relationship, even when they've got children and things are going out of control, they don't have the skills to diffuse the situation. And generally what happens is they start off by blaming themselves. And because they're blaming themselves, and the partner then says, oh, you know, I'm sorry, I hurt you, I'm sorry I did this, I'm sorry I did that, the person takes them back. And then because they take them back, the person is on that drama triangle, then becomes the persecutor again. So it plays out on that triangle all the time with DVOs, AVOs. That's where it plays out. Now, eventually what happens is the person gets sick enough of it because their children are being attacked or they're being attacked still, that they will go out and get a court order or a domestic violence order against the other person. But the problem is the other person doesn't think they've done anything wrong in a lot of cases, or they won't look at themselves in the mirror enough to admit they've done something wrong. So the attacks continue because the person was never stopped from doing it in the first place. With something like self-hypnosis, the more training that someone has, the more they will not let someone, one, in their life like that, or two, to continue to behave that way, because when you have good self-esteem, you do not surround yourself with negative people or with people who are going to put you down. And control happens in most relationships by one partner putting the other partner down, either commenting on their physical characteristics or their emotional states or anything else that they can point to, which is going to degrade the other person to a degree where they can be controlled, which is the whole purpose of the drama and the drama triangle. The persecutor's need is to control. The victim's need is to be the victim, and the rescuer's need is to be the rescuer. So that's my little hobby horse.
Yeah. And I think the other thing you said, David, which probably resonated, is that quite often when we try and fix something, we try and fix one part of something, but unless we have, like even how you described, even with some skills, and at times I think I can relax my body, but unless I can relax my body and my mind, then it's like there's always going to be a missing link that then sort of blocks you from moving on to, those stage 3 and stage 4 that you described.
Yeah. And if you follow Maslow's ladder of needs, and you know that the first line of that ladder is safety. So this is the ladder that actually shows you how we develop and the developmental stages that we go through. And if you follow that ladder, the developmental need at the base level is safety. So when our safety is threatened, we go back to base. We go back to protection. And protection against anything causes us to become more like a victim. So we go back to the drama triangle again as the victim, because we are now protecting ourselves rather than creating a way of having intimacy, of having enlightenment and empowerment that the rest of the triangle is about. So we have all the pieces to how to help the mind and how to help people be free. People just don't have the skills to get there by themselves usually. Because they've never learned those skills. They've been too busy learning what's wrong with them rather than what they can do to help themselves to see them as right with them. So, any other questions? And I can go back through everything if you would like me to.
I don't have any questions.
Does that explain the benefits of self-hypnosis to you, Naomi?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, definitely.
And Jenny, for you?
Sure does. It reminds me of it as well. Some of the things that at a certain level, but as you said, if you don't practice it regularly, you tend to revert back to those old patterns.
Yeah, it's very easy to go back to old patterns because the goal is to learn a lesson so well that we never repeat it. So I, of course, well, maybe not of course, but I believe in past lives. I believe that we bring issues back in with us in order to heal them because we pick them up here on planet Earth or somewhere else. And therefore, we have to come back into physical form to release them because we took them on in physical form. So if I am a spirit in this body and I'm inhabiting this body, my methodology of doing something is I'll go along in life, I'll gather an addiction. If I die with that addiction, or if I die on the victim triangle, then I have to come back and keep coming back until I am no longer that victim in that way. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't have multiple lives, because I might be a victim in other ways as well. I might be on that drama triangle, but you cannot be fully light and energy if you're still on the drama triangle. You can't. You can only be light and energy when you are the creator of your life. When you see life as challenging, or you see the challenges of life, and you see that you have the wisdom and the guidance in the coaching that is with you, either inner coaching or outside coaching, that can help you stay the creator, rather than continue to be the victim that a lot of people are. And what people don't realize is that old story that when they're pointing the finger at someone else, like the trolls are going, you, they've got three fingers pointing back at them. And they are continuing to put themselves on that drama triangle rather than raising themselves to being the creator of their life, where their purpose in life is to help others, be of service, create wealth, wisdom, whatever it might be at the highest level that they possibly can, which is the goal, I believe, of every one of us when we come back to this planet. So that's my other little soapbox.
And I think the other part of it too, and that just summed it up as well, was that when you've only known, if you're on that drama triangle and you keep perpetuating that, you don't even get to explore and see what that sort of creator part of the triangle is.
No, and that has to be brought into someone's attention, which is the purpose of our channel. Basically, Mind Body Academy is about bringing things to people's attention. We're just working on a happiness course. We had a previous channel called Aussie Blokes Talk, but we sort of morphed into Mind Body Academy as more expansive to help men and women rather than just sort of working with men. And COVID came along with our other channel as well, which sort of put a stop to us being able to interview men at the time and be doing what we wanted to do. So we've morphed into Mind Body Academy, and in Mind Body Academy, our goal is education. Our goal is helping people understand the dynamics of what is happening to them and what they can do about it. And, you know, the more that information can get out. So for ABT, I did a 19-day series on happiness. So we're just transforming it from ABT over to Mind Body Academy, but that's going to be ready shortly as well. I think I've got 6 of them up so far. 1 to 6 is up on the YouTube channel for Mind Body Academy. So there's many things I believe that can be done. I just believe that self-hypnosis is a really good starting point for most people to help them move along to the next stage of their life. And then we have other ones which, you know, are at a higher level as well, including something called Feed the Need, which is how to tell from your own body's reactions and responses what food is right for you, what nutrients are right for you, and what circumstances are right, because you're tuned into your own body, you're tuned into your higher self. And part of what we do in what I do with the self-hypnosis workshop is help you to tune in to your inner world, so that that inner world is immune, if you like, from the victim triangle. Because the inner world is the creator world. That's the world where you learn to create. And that's the world where most of us started off as children. We started off with the idea that what we could do as a child, you know, when we grew up, when I grow up, I want to be. We had dreams, we had hopes, we had all these wishes, we had no doubts or fears. And then things came along which lessened our light, which put us down more. And our goal with Mind Body Academy is to build things up more, is to help people build themselves up. So thank you both for being here. Any other questions at all, or anything I can help you with?
No,
I have no questions. No. Thank you so much for that, though. That was really, really interesting.
Thank you for being here. Happy to be able to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. So, and Jenny, did you find that useful for yourself?
Very, David. I'm always liked how you've worked, as you know, and I found that was that I could actually see lots of your talents coming to the fore by merging how you've just presented that. It was very, very helpful.
Yeah, and there is nothing in there that people can't achieve, that you can't achieve, or Naomi can't achieve, or anybody else can't achieve, once they decide they don't want to be in pain anymore. That's the simple step. I'm going to decide I don't want to be in pain anymore. What can I do about it? Well, I recommend self-hypnosis as a way of getting out of pain. And it's easy for anybody to do it when it's taught safely, which is what we plan on doing with MBA. So thank you both for being here.
And I'd probably just go as far as to say, not even wait till you get to the pain. I mean, if you are lucky enough to feel that you're not in pain, don't wait till you get to the pain, because I think from what you've described, anybody could benefit from it.
They can. And that's the beauty of having a course, which is because I'm teaching it in small groups of up to 10. That means I can give individual attention to each person in the group. And it means that people can share with each other as well. And that helps the other members, because as you know, a group has more power than an individual.
Yeah.
And so everybody in the group gets a part of the power of that group. And that helps drive change faster. And at the moment, it's all online because I can't teach it because it might get shut down at any minute, as we've just found out with Queensland. So for me, the best way was to create this and create other courses that I can actually teach online. And this is the one we're promoting at the moment. So thank you both for being here. I've enjoyed your company. Talk anytime.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Signing out, and bye for now.
Bye.
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 Bye.